Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Cord.
You got you back on the pod. I'm excited.
Yes. Number 2.
And we got you on for kind of a format we've been working on for the last couple sets here, with this following signpost format. Our idea here is that we're going to be looking at just the gold cards from Duskmourn. And we're going to be looking at those color pairs, what Wizards tells us about those color pairs, and then kind of break down, how we feel about each of those archetypes, those draft archetypes, just based on the uncommons that we're looking at. The set's been out for a little while, so both you and I have some opinions on how good these cards are in practice. But what we're really focused on here is just like that new player read or that fresh read. When we look at these cards for the first time, what do they tell us? Do they entice us in a draft if we see it like pick 3? Do we want to get into that archetype? So that we can maybe like build up those skills and apply those skills also for cards that we're making ourselves. Would this gold card that I designed myself pull me into an archetype? Well, maybe I'll have enough practice to say that because I'll have done enough of these episodes or listened to these episodes. Were you excited for Duskmourn before it came out, or how does this theme hit you? That kind of stuff.
I wasn't super excited for Duskmourn until I read the story.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know I'm not alone in this, but Duskmourn's story and everything that has been done by Shannon McGuire has been amazing for Magic Story. And so they wrote under an alias this time.
Yeah, Mira Grant.
Really got me in. Mira Grant.
I think one of the things that people have said about Duskmourn is like the tone can be a little hard to figure out just looking at the cards, because you have like super goofball kids horror movie looking characters, like the survivors are really like bold and silly. And then a lot of the monsters are like legit terrifying Silent Hill, like horrifying monsters.
Yeah, you get the fears.
Yeah.
And all of those ones, they're
yeah, they're super spooky. And when you're just looking at the cards, you maybe that can clash a little bit. I think in the story, it comes through pretty good. Like the idea of this mansion that like, hey, this demon was sealed in the mansion. So what's my plan? Well, the demon's going to expand the mansion to get bigger and bigger and bigger and increase its domain until it eats a big planet or a big plane.
Well, it ate the sun.
Does it have like a tower that's like climbing up and up and up?
Yeah. The elves of the plane are the like last people outside the house, and they watch as the sun gets eaten, and then they get eaten.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of really creepy stuff. Alrighty, so let's start heading into these ratings. We've got 4 categories for each of these. We're going to do a 1 to 5 score on each of these. But our 4 categories here, one of them, if we're looking at a color pair, our excitement to play that color pair. Does this seem like something brand new? Is this an archetype that I just really like to play myself? When I just see this card, does it seem like it's like a fun, cool, exciting thing to do? Both the individual card and the archetype. We've got kind of accuracy. So what we're trying to get at with accuracy here, does it seem likely that if you're playing this color pair, that you'll actually do the thing that this card wants you to do? We've seen cases in the past where like, hey, we've got some blue-black theme about, I don't know, whatever creature type, but really what you're doing is your control deck. So it's the archetype versus the actual decks in practice don't really match up. And the deck might still be strong even without the archetype, but what we're trying to look at here, how hard is it? Can I actually get 15 elves in my deck? Can I actually get, a bunch of ways to draw 3 cards at the same time? That's what we're trying to do with accuracy. With synergy, this is kind of measuring like, how much does this make like bad cards good when they're combined? Am I actually like taking cards that other people don't want and my deck can use and nobody else can use them? Rather than accuracy, which is trying to say something like, is it likely that this is going to happen? With synergy, it's more like, how cool is it when it happens? How much does this like transform cards into something brand new? And then our last one is just kind of like the strength of the cards. How good are these individual cards without a lot of support? If you drop them into a core set, you drop them into a chaos draft, you drop them somewhere else where, there's not a lot of other, it's kind of out of the environment of the set or minimally in the environment of the set. How good is that card as it stands alone? All right, why don't you read us blue-white then?
Yeah, blue-white. Eerie Tempo. Search the house. Play lots of enchantments and unlock rooms to power up your creatures and get around all the horrifying blockers your opponents might throw in your way.
Alrighty, so we need enchantments and rooms. And a little bit of tempo.
A little bit of tempo. There's definitely seems to be some sort of evasion theme. Get around the horrifying blockers.
Yeah.
Whether that's, traditional blue-white flying or just having enough things to Alpha Strike.
All right, and our first of the two uncommons here is called Gremlin Tamer, which is blue and a white, 2 mana. For a creature Human Scout, at uncommon. It's a 2/2, so 2 mana 2/2. It has Eerie. Eerie is like a ability word. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room. All the Eerie cards say that. In this case, when you do that, you get to create a 1/1. Create a 1/1 Gremlin creature token.
Of note, it's a red Gremlin creature token, which doesn't mean anything in this set that it's red and not blue-white.
Yeah. Maybe just that the gremlins in this set are red. They're little chaos buddies.
I do like off-color tokens, so that excites me for weird niche reasons that don't matter at all.
Yeah, I mean, it also I think conveys like, hey, you've got this cautious person, this blue-white person, but they befriended a little buddy who's like a little maniac. Gremlins are cool. I like gremlins.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some amount of like psychology here where it's like, oh, it's red, I want to attack with it. So you have the cautious scout that creates the red tokens that now you want to attack with.
Okay.
The other blue-white card is Inquisitive Glimmer for, again, white and blue mana. It is an enchantment creature, Fox Glimmer. Glimmers are the fun little unique creature type of the set.
Yeah.
It says, enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Unlock costs you pay cost 1 less. And it is a 2/3 for 2.
All right, you get that extra little bit of size, that Archon size bonus.
Yeah. Unlock costs, for reference, these are the costs you pay to unlock halves of rooms that are already on the battlefield. Yeah. So this basically says all the things you pay for involving rooms are 1 less, no matter where the room is.
Whether you're casting it from your hand or it's already on the battlefield and you're finishing opening it up. Yeah.
It also does help all the other enchantment creatures that are kicking around. You got the Glimmers and the Nightmares. Those are, I believe, the only 2 creature types that are enchantments in this set.
Like the Fears and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, the Fears are all Nightmares.
Yeah, oh, okay. Nice. All right, well, let's jump straight into our categories here. You're looking at these 2 Azorius cards. You just heard this this little search the house imperative. How excited are you for this?
I'm excited to put rooms in this deck. Both of these cards I can play pretty early. Yeah. As long as they have good enough fixing, I can get them turn 2. Maybe it has to be turn 3. And then I just want to play as many rooms as I can, because then that gets me creatures, that gets me whatever the rooms do, and that's kind of all you need.
Yeah. This is interesting because we are a little bit after the set came out. And I think going in, I was like kind of skeptical of rooms. Like I didn't really think rooms were going to be that fun to play with. I think the rules terminology on rooms is very confusing because like you have 2 separate rooms like conceptually on a card. You have a weight room and a gym. Oh, okay, those are 2 different rooms. But it's one room. It's one like capital R room. And then 2 separate doors. And all that kind of stuff is like, forget this. I don't care about it. But it turns out most rooms are good.
Yeah.
Which maybe shifts what these cards can do.
And there's a lot of them that are in blue. The other thing that Gremlin Tamer brings up for me is you're getting 2 gremlins per card you're playing with it. Because you get to do this twice per room. So because you get the enchantment entering on the room and you get the unlock, right? And you get two gremlin tokens from that. I think Gremlin Tamer is the one I'd be more excited about out of these 2. Yeah. Now we've seen cost reduction for insert card type here a lot at 2 mana. Well, not a lot at 2 mana, but a good amount recently at 2 mana. We've seen it, for instance, in sorceries. We've seen it for artifacts. I think we've also seen it for enchantments in Theros. So,
okay.
No, Inquisitive Glimmer isn't really doing something too new.
Yeah. All right. So excitement-wise, I think we both like looked at this and said, "Yeah, I want to do Enchantment Fall. I want to like play a bunch of enchantments and trigger a bunch of stuff." And there have been other cards that spew out little goblins when you cast non-creature spells, and this is kind of in the same vibe. So, what are we thinking here? Is this like a 4? Are you like really excited to play this? Where are you coming in at?
As someone whose favorite place in Magic is Theros, I have to give this a 4.
Oh, okay. Do we want to try to get up to 5? Are you feeling really good about it?
I don't know if it's novel enough. It is kind of just enchantments coming into play again.
Okay. Yeah, let's go with 4. Yeah, we have seen like weirder, more exciting things. Like I remember Thunder Junction, the blue-white archetype was like, don't cast spells on your turn. And that's like, whoa, that's weird. This is like a known quantity, but applied to a new card type. So from there, accuracy. Do you think it's going to be possible to get enough enchantments to make Gremlin Tamer work? Do we think we're going to have enough enchantments in our deck that the discount from Inquisitive Glimmer is going to matter?
I definitely think Gremlin Tamer is possible. We see enchantment creatures, right? I'm less sure on Inquisitive Glimmer. The fact that it double dips on both halves of a room might just be enough, though.
Yeah, okay. So accuracy 4 or 5, it sounds like. What are you thinking?
Yeah, 4 or 5. If you're a newer player, I think there's enough that can go wrong. Like if you just jam, 5 Inquisitive Glimmers in a deck because you open them. You're not gonna get anything out of that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Or I could also see I have 10 Eerie cards and 4 ways to make enchantments or something. Yeah, it can go a little lopsided. But I think you're saying because of rooms, we're going to have enough triggers on the Gremlin.
Yeah.
All right. Synergy. Does this make cards that are otherwise kind of bad good? The deck that you're playing this in, you're looking for more specific cards than the average deck. It kind of feels like yes for that as well.
Yeah.
Like there are probably a bunch of cards that I don't really want. We don't really know the archetypes yet. We haven't talked about them yet, but like we're not really just trying to play like a bunch of random like normal flyers or whatever. We really want things that say enchantment on them. And if they don't say enchantment, we kind of don't want them.
Yeah, and we don't even just want things that say enchantment. We kind of want things that say room. We just kind of really want rooms. Because of the double dipping, right?
Yeah, that's true. We want the double trigger. Yeah. All right, yeah, so that's high synergy as well.
High synergy.
What are you thinking there? Another 4? We just 4 across the board? We want to go to 5? What are you thinking?
The fact that I can see me ignoring a good enchantment for a room in this deck makes me think we can go to 5.
Yeah, that this is maybe not just enchantment matters. This is rooms matter.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to 5. And then raw strength, if we're not doing the thing, how good are these cards? This is not going to be a 4 or 5. This is closer to like a 3 or a 2.
Like a 2/2 for 2.
Yeah. And then a 2 mana, 2/3. Well, that's actually kind of passable. So maybe not a 1. This isn't like blank in an average set. If you are blue-white in a core set and you put these 2 cards in your deck, they don't do nothing.
Yeah, like you might have, an aura.
All right, so maybe we'll do 2 for that. How's that feel?
Yeah.
All right, that was blue-white. We're pretty high on it. Next up, we've got kind of a similar thing. Blue-black, Eerie Control. Live out your worst nightmares and share them with your opponent. Unlocking rooms and playing enchantments to kill off their creatures and seize control of the game.
This was my worst enemy pre-release weekend.
Oh no.
I built my deck, and I said to the person across from me, if there's one deck I'm losing to today, it's blue-black Control.
Oh.
And the one deck I lost to was blue-black Control.
Alrighty, well, why don't you give us the first card?
Fear of Infinity. 1 blue-black, Enchantment Creature Nightmare. Flying, lifelink. Fear of Infinity, can't block. It has the Eerie ability word. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, you may return Fear of Infinity from your graveyard to your hand. It is a 2/2.
2/2 flying, lifelink, can't block. Which is like already a pretty passable. Like we're already getting somewhere on our raw strength. Just lifelink flyers are just a very good thing.
Yeah.
And then we've got this Eerie thing. Now, if we were pretty high on the chances of making Eerie happen earlier. And if we can trigger Eerie a couple times and get back a 2/2 flyer back a couple times, or we mill it or somehow otherwise dump it in our graveyard for value, that's feeling pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to put things in your graveyard for value. Especially in this set, you got, Manifest Dread, Surveil, probably some cards that say mill.
Yeah, Manifest Dread, like, gives you some control over what you're putting in the graveyard.
Yeah. Now you pull this up, and you see a land and this as your 2 cards for Manifest Dread. There's definitely times when you put this into the graveyard and keep the land as a 2/2.
Yeah. If you got other stuff to do with your hand, I totally believe it. Yeah, so we're doing something kind of cool with this card for sure. Yeah. Our other card is going to be Skull Snap Nuisance. That's a name. Blue and a black, 2 mana for a 1/4. Insect Skeleton. And it's also a flyer, so 1/4 flyer for 2. And it has Eerie Surveil 1. So enchantments or rooms, you get to surveil one every time you do that kind of stuff. This is more of a traditional control-y card to me. This is like, buy myself some time. I'm not going to lose to little flyers. Even kind of medium-sized attackers I'm safe against. And I get a little surveil. That's fine.
These cards also work together very well.
Yeah.
Now you got Surveil from one, and then an enchantment that recurs itself on the other.
I got to find the right mix of stuff. Maybe if I'm playing a million rooms, I'm not on the board as much as I should be. So I can say, I had to stick the room in my deck, but I don't want this second room because the second room, I need more board. Okay, get that in the graveyard. Give me a land. Give me a creature, something else. So yeah, a little filtering could help there.
Yeah.
Let's get our categories going. So excitement. Do you want to do blue-black control with a little bit of room spice?
I see these cards, and they seem good, but it doesn't seem fun.
Fair enough. I would say that when I hear Eerie Control, my excitement is quite low. When we read these cards, especially the Fear of Infinity, I'm like, now we're doing something a little new. I'm trying to mill for value. I'm trying to play some enchantments. I'm still playing enchantments to do this, so that some of the novelty that we had for blue-white is also here. I don't know. I don't like to build a control deck. I just want to build a mid-range deck that pivots between fast and slow.
I want to be doing stuff with parts of these cards that aren't the Eerie Control parts.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be, like, doing some weird reanimator or something with Fear of Infinity. I want to be milling it, right?
Yeah.
I want to be putting it into the graveyard with Skull Snap Nuisance.
I guess that's kind of interesting. Yeah, there may not be that many ways to like get the Infinity killed. Like if it's a 2/2 flyer, it's not going to die that often.
Yeah.
So it's like sack? Eerie text is really about sack. Okay. Good point. We might see some sacrifice stuff. Yeah. So excitement. I mean, it sounds like we're between 2 and 3. Is that fair?
Yeah.
What are you feeling? 2 or 3?
I would put it at a 2.
Okay.
I don't think I want to do what the archetype sheet is saying with these.
Unlock rooms, play enchantments to kill off their creatures and seize control. Yeah, I guess I'm not totally buying that. Yeah.
I don't really see how these are sharing nightmares with opponents, other than the art.
I guess that's true.
Or killing creatures.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's give it a 2 for excitement. And then accuracy. Do you think it's going to be true that in my blue-black control deck, I'm going to have a bunch of rooms? I'm going to have a bunch of Eerie triggers.
I mean, we talked about in the last one that there's a bunch of blue rooms, so probably.
Yeah, I think it seems likely. Like, what deck wants something that is like value over time? How about a control deck?
How about a
And
control
rooms are
deck?
like two. Each half of a room is not usually a whole card, but it's pretty close, and so you get like 1.5 cards out of each room. That's how you win a long game.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like flashback versions of Disturb. Flashback or Disturb in Innistrad. You get the first thing, and then you get more later.
Yeah, whereas like an aggressive deck might want to like a couple specific rooms, but it might not want all of them. This blue-black deck, it's just going to take all the value it can find. It's going to, whatever it can do to just like get a little bit ahead incrementally and just have more cards, more effects, more stuff. That's what this deck wants to do. Do we believe Eerie is going to be the way to do that? I don't know. We both were kind of thinking that there's going to be enough rooms to trigger the Gremlin Tamer, so we're definitely getting this Sphere of Infinity back. Do we think we're going to be able to mill it? Maybe. Do you think we're going to be able to sacrifice it? Maybe.
I definitely agree that like if the Fear of Infinity goes away, you can get it back. You're gonna have either an enchantment in your hand, a room in your hand, a room on the battlefield you can unlock.
Make a Glimmer.
Make a Glimmer.
All right.
You can get it back, but how often is that gonna happen? And how often are you just gonna kind of keep swinging in with a 2/2 flying lifelink?
Yeah. So I feel like this should be at least a 3. Do you want to go higher or lower? How are you feeling?
I think a 3 seems accurate in terms of accuracy.
Okay. Yeah, we think we're going to be using rooms to get value because that's where the value is in the set. And so that's how we're going to build our control deck. And these two cards, if we're doing Eerie stuff, that is going to give us what we need to get over the hump and get into the league. All right, synergy. Does this make a bunch of cards better? Does this make a bunch of cards that other people don't want? Things that you do want? A little less so.
A little less.
I feel like people are going to want to play Manifest Dread anyhow. People are going to, like that I could do that Manifest Dread trick you talked about where I might dump this and keep the land. Like, that doesn't make me more likely to Manifest Dread. That's just like a cool thing I get to do with it.
I don't think this deck is so hard on needing it to be rooms that they're going to be picking rooms over better cards either.
Yeah, with a Nuisance, the little Insect Skeleton, the 1/4 flyer, I'm mostly playing that for a 1/4 flying blocker for 2 mana. And then like if I get an Eerie trigger or not, I don't really care because I just needed to block a 3/2 for a couple turns.
Like if you can pick up some good removal in this deck, I think you're picking that over the Eerie part.
All right, so synergy, this doesn't seem too high synergy. It does make some cards better. Like we have to recognize that like in order for this stuff to work, you do want some enchantments. If you have 0 enchantments, these cards do get a decent amount worse. So 2 or 3, I'm probably thinking.
I think a 3 fits this.
All right.
It's got synergy. It's not synergy with what it's saying it has, but it is synergy.
Okay. And then raw strength. How good are these cards on their own or with minimal support? Like I was saying with the Nuisance, I think the Nuisance is like just fine on its own. Like if I'm a blue-black deck and I'm anything but the fastest of blue-black decks, I want this card.
I think in any set, both of these cards perform pretty well.
Yeah.
If there's enchantments, these cards perform even better. Especially in black, you get the like, oh, I'm gonna spend 5 mana to cast an enchantment that drains you for 1 or 2 every turn, right? Those types of things, or like a Bastion of Remembrance type stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what this Sphere of Infinity is. You're right. It's one of those, drain a life every turn. Yeah.
But it's also on a creature that gets to do it a little bit more directly.
Yeah, it can get blocked, but it does it twice as fast as the average drain enchantment. Yeah.
And cheaper.
So 3 or 4, what are you thinking?
I think we can give this a 4. I see these cards and I'm like, yeah, I'd play them just for their base line.
I'm going to get a minimal amount of upside, and when I get that, that's going to be all I needed. I don't need to like with the Gremlin Tamer, give me 15 enchantments so I could just have a ton of gremlins. But having a ton of enchantments with these guys doesn't matter that much. We're 2 down. Tell us a little bit about what Black-Red's doing.
Rakdos Sacrifice. You know it, you love it. Want to slash through opposing creatures and your opponent with ease? Pay the price for strength by sacrificing your own creatures and old rooms.
Old rooms. Oh, okay. So if they're mostly like unlock things, I can feel free to
sack fully
them.
Unlocked, yeah. And they don't have any effect that I really care about, I can just toss it to the wind.
It's a minor effect. You know, it's kind of like a food token or something. Do I want the food token? Kind of. Am I willing to sacrifice it? Yeah, sure.
Here's the sacrifice for Fear of Infinity. Yeah, splash blue and steal it.
Yeah, it's making it more likely that there's just mono black cards that sacrifice things for our Fear of Infinity. Yeah. All right, our first card here is going to be called Disturbing Mirth. Mirth as in like pranky joker-ishness, I guess. Black and a red, 2 mana. A lot of 2 mana cards. We got 4 out of 5 cards have been 2 mana. It's an enchantment, not a room. When Disturbing Mirth enters, you may sacrifice another enchantment or creature. If you do, draw 2 cards. And then it also has, when you sacrifice Disturbing Mirth, manifest dread. So there's kind of 2 parts to this. This is like an Altar's Reap, or, you know, one of those cards.
Yeah.
A card that lets you pay 2 mana to sack a creature and draw some cards. You can also sacrifice an enchantment instead, like a room, for example. And then when this gets sacrificed, you get more stuff. So if I just have like 5 Disturbing Mirths, I just have them sacrifice each other. They're like really self-synergistic.
Oh, yeah. You used to not be allowed to sacrifice enchantments in black.
Oh, that's a good point.
They seem very willing to do it here.
Yeah. Demonic bargain, kind of like, hey, once you put this on the battlefield, you're not allowed to take it off. Huh. That's a funny color pie thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you have to color bend a little bit, it's not like red is just like great at sacrificing enchantments or whatever, but at least you're acquiring a second color, so you are, you know, the color pie break is a little softened by being a 2-color card.
Oh yeah.
All right, give us the other card here.
Our other card here is Sawblade Skin Ripper for 1 black and a red. It is a creature, human assassin. It's an uncommon, and it has menace and 2 sacrifice another creature or enchantment. Put a +1/+1 counter on Sawblade Skin Ripper. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrificed 1 or more permanents this turn, Sawblade Skin Ripper deals that much damage to any target, and it is a 3/2. That's a lot of text. That's 8 whole lines of text.
Yeah, let's process that one. So 3 mana, 3/2 menace is already, you know, that's kind of like the nuisance, that flyer. Like, 2 mana, 1/4 flyer, that's kind of good enough. 3 mana, 3/2 menace. Yeah, we're getting to be like a pretty good French vanilla. We pay 2 mana and eat another creature or enchantment that we control to get a +1/+1 counter on this. So we, you know, where the opponent's at like 7 or whatever, they have to try to respect and block it because I can spend my 6 mana to sack 3 things and have this thing turn huge and deal a bunch of lethal damage. And then this good.
Yeah, you can do that at instant speed. Mid combat.
Yeah, the classic like Arcbound Ravager that can eat artifacts to like pump up something huge. You have to pay 2 mana per, so it's not quite as explosive as that card, but it does seem like it's got a lot of utility. Then it's got this last thing, which is a little harder to totally wrap my mind around. But basically at the end of turn, I get to deal damage equal to the number of things I sacrifice this turn to a target. So if I sacrifice 1 thing, I get to deal 1 damage. If I sacrificed 3 things, I get to deal 3 damage. I guess that's even more incentive for your opponent to get this off the field.
Yeah, because if they don't block it, or if they don't kill it on that potential final turn, you can pump it up a bunch and also shoot them for that much.
Yeah, a lot of game closing potential for sure. So the excitement level, this I was only a little. I mean, rack sack is like often a fun thing to do, so I was above a 1 even just hearing that we get to do it this set. When I saw these specific cards, I got kind of curious because these are like maybe not engine-y, but these are like I got a whole bunch. I got like a complicated machine. I need this to sack this, and this to do this, and this to do that, and then explosions happen, which is a little more than just like churning out 1/1s and sacrificing them to do whatever.
It feels like you're building a bomb.
Yeah.
Which vary on theme, like you're, making your saw trap or whatever.
Yeah. So this is probably 4-ish to me, excitement-wise. How you feeling?
I could see that. Definitely with exactly how these cards come together, I definitely see my excitement being around a 4. I don't think I'd go higher than that.
Yeah, the Disturbing Mirth is like so weird, and even the Skin Ripper is like so weird that it's not like totally clear what the game is asking me to do picking these cards, but the game knows what it wants me to do. It's just whether I can figure out what I'm supposed to do in the middle of a draft.
I mean, I think I just want a lot of copies of just these 2 cards.
Yeah. Very funny. All right, accuracy. Do you think we're actually going to be able to do this? Maybe that's what we're just talking about. What other components do we need? We want those rooms that we're going to expend. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of token presence outside of the little baby glimmers, which I don't think are a Rakdos thing, because the glimmers are like hopeful things, and this is the opposite.
You have the gremlins.
Okay.
So I'm assuming we'll get some of those tokens.
If I'm thinking of how Manifest Dread plays out, sometimes when I Manifest Dread, there's a 6/6 under there. Sometimes there's a land under there. Part of what I might be doing is like, hey, I'm playing out a bunch of Manifest Dread, and then whatever the worst one is, I'll eat that one, and I'll keep the other ones. So maybe that's where I'm getting some of my fodder to sacrifice.
Yeah, if you're manifesting Dread and you swing in with the 2/2 that's a land and Sawblade Skin Ripper, and you have a bunch of open mana.
Yeah.
You can either sack the manifest when it gets blocked, or maybe you did have something cool under there and you can turn it into a big creature and win in combat.
That we wanted more copies of the same cards makes me a little bit worried on accuracy. That it's maybe what we want is a little specific, but I'm still a believer. Like the Skin Ripper promise of like, if I have 2 or 3 other permanents and I attack and my opponent has to respect the Skin Ripper, it has to think really hard about it.
I'm stuck between a 3 or a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Disturbing Mirth probably is the card I think a Rakdos deck is probably going to play, regardless of if it's even doing the thing.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like you're going to be doing sacrifice. If you're Rakdos, you're going to have some amount of sacrifice in your deck.
You're going to have something to sacrifice, or you're going to have to sacrifice something. Yeah. So we'll say a 4.
All right, let's do it. Synergy. Does this make other cards better? Do these cards suffer if they don't have quite the right fuel? It's at least a little bit.
Yeah.
These cards are together extremely good and with multiple copies of it, which is a cool thing. Like some of these other cards, like the Skullcap Nuisance, the little bug, the Dimir bug, you can have 8 copies of that and you don't care. Like you really only wanted 1. Whereas this really accelerates and becomes really bright.
Any cards that make tokens, any cards that maybe Manifest Dread. I wonder if Manifest Dread does take up some of the space you'd be using for tokens.
Yeah. Here. Sacrificing a 2/2 is a little worse than sacrificing a 1/1, so it's not awesome to be manifesting Dread with these cards. These cards don't really care about the graveyard, it doesn't seem.
Yeah. Missing out on some of that value you get from the Manifest Dread.
Yeah. We're not necessarily sacrificing cheap things, we're just sacrificing the things that aren't relevant on the battlefield right now. I've got a 2/2 laying around. I may as well upgrade it to 2 more cards with Disturbing. And I also kind of want to keep my curve low because I want to... The Skin Ripper on a clogged board. It's maybe actually still okay now that I'm thinking about it. This can winnow down a clogged board. A clogged
you got
board
that third paragraph. Right?
Yeah, I'm just bored, so I'm going to sack 2 things. Make this thing bigger permanently. And also kill your flyer.
And also shoot you for 2. Or kill your flyer. Oh. Yeah, this can clean up a clogged board too.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of good at different points in the game, which is going to help it in the next category. But also is sort of saying maybe that like you don't necessarily have to be super dedicated to being super aggressive or anything. Let's see. Slash their opponents, opposing creatures, pay the price. This isn't necessarily promising, Wizards is promising that this is a super aggressive deck, just that you'll have a lot of stuff to rip apart.
Yeah.
and
both yours and your opponents.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 4.
All right. Raw strength. The Disturbing Mirth is a little awkward raw strength because I need a way to sacrifice it. So it's like it needs other cards that care about sacrificing to really come to life. I don't want to play this in a core set draft or whatever.
Yeah, you can get this for 1 mana for black in another draft format.
Yeah. But on the other hand, the Skin Ripper seems good in any environment.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit better in the world with Disturbing Mirth and other sacrifice cards, but put this in any Rakdos deck.
Because it says permanent, I think it's actually stronger in sets with lots of treasure or food or clues.
Yeah.
Throw this card into Crimson Vow or
Eldraine,
Eldraine or New Capenna, and it's gonna go crazy.
Yeah. So Disturbing Mirth is probably a 1 raw strength.
Yeah.
But Skin Ripper is a 4 or 5. Yeah.
I don't know where we put the archetype.
A 1 and a 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of looking at these 2 cards for raw strength more so than the archetype, but they pull in different directions. So we're kind of getting averaged out a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's just go 3 and move on here.
And move on. Yep.
Skin Ripper does seem like the best of the cards we've seen so far. All right. Yeah. Next up, we've got red green, and that's going to be Delirium Stompy. We haven't really talked about Delirium yet. Fill your deck with artifact and enchantment creatures, along with other card types, and attack early and often. Once you get 4 different card types into your graveyard, your cards power up. Then go for the jugular. All right, so we got to pressure a little bit early. We got to do a lot of deck composition stuff, which is going to be interesting to talk through and try to figure out. And then we're waiting on those cards to power up late game once we have Delirium.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that we don't have our brand new card type to help with Delirium.
Battle time.
Can't have battles everywhere.
Yeah. All right, give us our first card here.
Our first card here is Beastie Beatdown. I'm getting all the alliteration. It's another 2-mana card, red-green, and it is a sorcery. Choose target creature you control, and target creature an opponent controls. Then it has the ability word Delirium. If there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard, which is what Delirium means, put 2 +1/+1 counters on the creature you control. The creature you control deals damage equal to its power to the creature an opponent controls. So it's a bite spell.
Yeah, 2-mana bite spell. But Delirium also get 2 counters. Sometimes we've seen get 1 counter, like if you're legendary, 1 counter if you control this creature type. We're getting 2 counters here. We're getting a bigger payoff than usual.
It's also, 2 colors, and usually we see those in 1 color. Yeah. 1 and a green.
Yeah,
so
something like that.
That's probably where some of the power's coming from.
Yep. And it is sorcery, so it's not like the kind of things we see sometimes with Gruul cards, where part of the reason you played 2 colors is you get to trick people mid-combat.
Well, actually, this being sorcery is maybe for helping with Delirium.
Sure, yeah.
Because you're probably going to be playing instants in Gruul for combat tricks, right?
I guess that's true, yeah. Okay.
You're going to need some things to balance out that deck construction.
All right. And kind of interesting to also note that this card doesn't enter your graveyard until it's done resolving, so...
That's true.
It doesn't help. You want permanence with Delirium usually more so than spells because they're a little easier to turn on.
I mean, if I'm playing this before combat, I can clear a blocker and then maybe it turns on Delirium for the next card.
There you go. And your next card might be Wildfire Wiggerfolk, another 2-mana creature, red and green for Artifact creature Scarecrow. It's a 3/2 haste. This used to be a good card on its own. Just a 2 mana, 3 power haster. But you get a little upside here. Delirium. It gets +1/+1 and trample. So it becomes a 4/3 trample haste if you have Delirium. All right, excitement. Are you excited to do aggro Delirium?
This does excite me.
Oh, okay.
It excites me in the same way like Domain in like modern cubes excites me.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm gonna, have a dream of playing some random 1 mana mill 3 and then come down turn 2 and swing for 4 for 5 turns in a row and win the game.
Are you excited to have, instead of like your creature pile and your non-creature pile, like a lot of drafters, you're going to have a pile for each creature type or each card type, and you're going to like really balance those out? Is that something that's appealing to you?
Yeah, I really like the game of balancing out your Delirium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially for an aggressive Delirium, that's naturally more difficult. Like, we'll see like a more of a grindy Delirium later. That you can kind of be lazy on card types because, you're going for a long game anyhow. You'll see 15 cards in your graveyard. Here, you really got to tune it because otherwise, your cards are not living their best life.
Yeah, if I'm not really paying attention to what deck I'm building, these cards can definitely get left by the wayside. Like I'm gonna I definitely need to pick up, sorceries and instants and enchantments.
I gotta find my Evolving Wild so I can get a land.
Yeah. I think it's Terramorphic Expanse in this set.
Fair enough.
Which is important for me because I have a cube which lets you draft Terramorphic Expanses.
All right.
And so I was excited for the new art.
Fair enough. All right, excitement. So sounds like you're pretty high. What number do you want to put on this?
I don't think I'm a 5, but I'm definitely more excited by the Wicker Folk than the Beastie Beatdown.
I think that's probably holding me back too. I'm not seeing Beastie Beatdown third after I took like 2 green cards and thinking, all right, time to do it. This is a card that I'm hoping to get 12th or whatever because no one else wants it.
I don't know. Like I feel like it's just too generic of a card. Like
that's true.
If I have good enough fixing, maybe I pick it up late because I'm low on removal.
Yeah. And that's part of what we're trying to judge here. I think that's a great point. Like we're looking at these cards and trying to think like, is this appealing to move in on? We get these 2 cards, we get this blurb. We don't know the whole set of cards. Does this Beastie Beatdown inspire me to attempt to do this deck? No. It's just like a card that is a part of that deck. And, with the uncommons, like maybe this is a thing when you're designing, you kind of want to think like, I can't just make a card that happens to fit these 2 colors. I got to inspire people with and tease them as to what the draft archetypes are going to be.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you want? Do you want 3, 4? It sounds like that's where you were.
I think I want a 3. This definitely doesn't excite me as much as blue-white or red-black.
All right. Accuracy. This is where I'm personally a little skeptical. Delirium, it can be fun in like that like modern cube sense of like, I can get fetch lands. I can, play cantrippy stuff. I can play a lot of 1 mana stuff so that I actually can Delirium on turn 4. Feels a little bit of a challenge to do that in draft.
Yeah, maybe this isn't quite so fast stompy as I want it to be. It's talking about like you're playing these creatures and then eventually they'll get strong and go for the jugular.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not so much where I want to be playing, but it is where I'm going to be playing realistically in this deck.
Yeah, when I'm looking at like the Wildfire Wickerfolk, the Delirium text is just kind of a bonus. It's not what I'm playing towards. It's not what I, am evaluating about the card. It is a fun bonus and is flavorful. And, when it does happen, trample, that'll be good to get over some 1/1s. But it's not, I'm not believing that it's going to be active,
Yeah, I'm not getting this until turn 6. Yeah. And at that point, either this card has overstayed its welcome or I was winning anyway.
I guess the main thing that's kind of cool, maybe this is more of a power thing, but like if I do draw it on turn 6 and I already have Delirium, I'm actually kind of excited because this is an amount of combat that my opponent wasn't ready for. But in terms of accuracy, I think I'm around a 2. I don't think it's going to be impossible to get Delirium, but not in a timely way.
Yeah, I think that's the real thing here is you can get it. It's gonna happen, but it's not happening today.
Yeah. Alrighty, synergy. Does this make a bunch of cards better? This sounds like you were kind of high on the synergy level. I'm going to make sure that I got to try to get a couple artifact creatures. I got to try to get a couple enchantment creatures. I got to try to get 3 sorceries. 2 instants.
This makes me, there's definitely cards that if I'm in a Delirium deck, I'm picking over other cards.
Yeah.
Maybe this makes me higher on that Terramorphic Expanse than a 2-colored land, right?
Yeah. Normally in my Gruul, Stompy deck, I really don't care about Terramorphic Expanse. I'll risk it. I don't want the tapped land. I just want basics instead. Here it's saying, no, consider that thing.
I can consider the tapped land. I can consider, the Manifest Dread cards to get that card selection.
Mm-hmm.
So,
3 or 4.
3.
Okay. Raw strength, probably between 2 and 3 for me.
This doesn't feel as strong as Red Black. It's why.
Yeah. We have no dream of popping off with these 2 cards. These are just.
So I think we're putting this at a 2.
All right. Fair enough. Alrighty.
Green-white is survival. Utilize all of Duskmourn's tricks to power up your creatures and help them smash their way to safety. Find other ways to tap them and hide until the danger's past.
Oh yeah, so survival is going to care creatures that care about being tapped in your second main phase.
This is one of the few archetypes I've had a lot of experience, or not a lot of experience, but with some experience playing.
I haven't played it at all.
I got a bunch of survival cards in my pre-release pool. And my jump-in deck was also the survival one.
Alrighty. Cool. Let's get into these cards, and then maybe we'll break down some of what you've seen with the archetype. So our first one here is just called Baseball Bat. Gotta love that. It's a green and a white, another 2-mana card.
I think that's number 7.
7 out of 9 cards have been 2 mana. Yeah, maybe this is the way to make a high, to just guarantee that the card's playable is make it 2 mana and then give it a bunch of abilities. All right, this one is an equipment, as you might guess. So 2 mana for an equipment. When it enters, you get a free attach. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. And whenever equipped creature attacks, tap up to 1 target creature. Then it can also re-equip or equip for 3. So after your first person dies, you can move it to someone else for 3 mana. Even outside of the archetype stuff, I find it kind of interesting. Like, okay, we want baseball bat. We can't make baseball bat like +3/+3 because it's a baseball bat. It has to be a small amount of stats. How do we make baseball bat, good enough? Oh, we got to find some abilities. Give it a free equip. Give it this tap thing.
I understand why it taps someone.
Yeah.
You knock them out with a baseball bat.
Or even I'm thinking, we got the 10 zombies trying to come at us. I'm just swinging the bat near them, and that's like holding them at bay.
Hold them at bay.
And letting people get through.
Yeah.
So design-wise, I quite like this card.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We have the whole survival theme for green-white. It doesn't say tap a creature you don't control.
Yeah.
You can tap your survivors. You're knocking out your friend to keep them safe.
Or no, the action movie thing of you're holding your weapon out sideways and they're behind you and you're keeping them back. No, let me in. I'll take care of it.
I'll take care of it.
You really want to club your friends with a baseball bat. This is something I've learned about you.
I do it once a month at LARP.
Okay. Alrighty, give us the other card here. We got some more alliteration for you.
Yes. More S a little. How many? Wait. We're
pretty high on that too. Yeah.
Sawblade, Skin Ripper, Beastie Beatdown, Wildfire, Wickerfoot, Baseball Bat, Shrewd Sword. No, it's just 5 in a row.
5 in a row.
5 in a row.
We're learning stuff.
We've got Shrewd Storyteller. 1 green and a white. It's not a 2-mana card. Creature, human survivor for an uncommon 3/3. It has survival. At the beginning of your second main phase, if Shrewd Storyteller is tapped, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That's our third ability word of the set. Got Eerie, Delirium, and Survival.
All right, there we go. 3 mana 3/3. If it's tapped, it puts a counter on target creature, itself, some other creature. So if I can get the train rolling, if I can get ahead of my opponent, if I get the blockers out of the way, getting a counter every turn is like a pretty solid thing to be doing.
I feel pretty comfortable swinging with a 3/3 on turn 4, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a decent chance
I don't think it gets killed.
Yeah. And if it's trading, that gives me an opportunity to combat trick or do something else. Maybe there'll be fewer combat tricks because we have to get rooms in there. We've got this baseball bat. It might not have quite the same like Selesnya combat tricks that we've seen in the past.
I don't know how much we're doing rooms here.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, there's no synergy.
There's no synergy.
For sure. And this archetype is kind of on an island on its own because of that. It plays enchantments if they're good. It plays Manifest Dread cards if they're good. But there's no other mechanic that this really like locks into and works with.
Yeah. Survivors lost alone in this house of rooms and sacrifice and delirium and eerie things. So, I think that's flavorful.
They're on their own. Yeah, sure. I guess, okay, so excitement. Let's see, survival. I'm kind of excited by that puzzle. I want to find, vehicles or other ways to get my guys tapped. When I look at these two cards, it's like, maybe we can do this. Like, these, unlike the Delirium cards we just looked at, that didn't really make me think it was going to work. I believe that both these cards function, and both these cards will help me get creatures tapped, and both of them will, let me kind of snowball a little bit. Where are you at for excitement? You want to do this? Oh, you saw some cards in your seal pool. Maybe we'll get back to that.
Yeah, when I first saw this set, I was not excited for survival, really.
Okay.
But after, cracking open my set, there's this 3 mana 5/2. I think it's a 5/2 that has trample, and you can either pay 2 extra mana or tap 2 untapped creatures you control as an additional cost to cast it.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of cards in this set that let you tap creatures. And they're all good cards that you want to be playing and saying, I've got a plan. And the plan actually working.
Yeah, so we're getting into a little bit of accuracy there too. I guess we can look at both of those at the same time here. For excitement wise, it sounded like you weren't that excited, but then when you saw it in action, you're like, I'm a believer. I can do this.
Yeah.
So maybe the excitement's a little bit low, but then the accuracy is high enough that you're like, no, I want to actually do this.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
There's definitely an aspect of, am I really going to have these creatures survive through combat? How many times am I going to swing them in and then they're going to have a combat trick or just better creatures?
Yeah. I'm already winning. My creatures lived. I'm not going to play creatures that have this conditional ability that requires me to be winning. When instead, I can just be playing better cards.
But then you see the rest of your options and
the
world opens up.
All right, so how about this? We'll start it low on excitement, because I was pretty low excitement-wise on this.
Yeah.
Let's say maybe like a 2, but then the accuracy, let's pump this up high, for a 4 or 5. How does that feel?
Yeah, I think they actually definitely at a 5. Like, sometimes you're going to hit those moments and you're just going to, tap 2 Shrewd Storytellers or and get a 5/5 next turn.
Well, maybe we could segue that right into synergy as well, because it kind of sounds like, I can play other random rooms or creatures or whatever else. I can play some Delirium cards if they're good. But I just want a couple choice ways to get my dudes tapped. And if I can do that, it's all over.
Yeah. And those are definitely not cards other decks are taking.
Great point. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. All right, so synergy pretty high on this.
Yeah, I think you might be able to get that out of 5. because these are like cards you really want. Like you really want to get these guys, especially when they can't tap.
Yeah,
and because other decks aren't playing the cards that kind of just have the downside of tapping your creatures.
Yeah, and maybe what we're sort of saying is like if you don't get those cards, these survival creatures are just kind of small. Their abilities aren't special. They're not good at trading in combat. They're not good at a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, all right, I'll buy it. And then raw strength. How good are these two individual cards? The storyteller. This isn't super high. The bat, I feel like that kind of effect is pretty proven to me. So I'm a believer in the bat.
The bat really kind of wins a combat for a turn, right? You tap down their creature. You know, maybe they only have one untapped creature and you get in, or you tap down their larger creature and now they have to chump block.
Yeah.
It's a baseball bat. It's a useful tool in any situation.
It's got electricity and nails in it.
It does make me wonder if, the design of this card was tied at all to, what if we need to use baseball bat somewhere else?
Yeah, it is kind of, you could pull it into another setting because it doesn't have any keywords that are special.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, so I'm probably 4-ish on the bat and probably 2-ish on the storyteller. Do you have different opinions than that?
That sounds about right.
All right. So we want to go for 3 or do we want to go 4? What are you thinking?
We'd go for 3. Raw strength wise.
All right, cool. So we've looked at half the colors so far. I always like just kind of getting the ideas going about like what is good about each of these color pairs, what isn't very good. You ready for a couple more?
Yeah.
Our next one is going to be white-black, Reanimator, All Hail Valgavoth. Slow your opponents down while you get enormous monsters into your graveyard and then perform the rituals to return them to life. I feel like Reanimator is like a classic thing in like high power cubes, and then the average Reanimator card in like most Magic sets is like not very good. So when they're saying, hey, we are doing specifically Reanimator, we're going to give you Reanimator cards, I'm kind of interested.
I would love to live my Avacyn Restored dreams again.
There you go, bringing back the angel. All right, give us the first card here. Oh, good.
Yeah, I think our first card really does help with that. Rite of the Moth. 1 white, black for a sorcery. Return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. If a creature with a finality counter on it would die, exile it instead. Flashback. 3 white, black. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then exile it. This is, I think it's Burial Rites.
Yeah.
The Innistrad, 4 mana, 4 mana, 6 mana reanimation spell, but they added some extra color pips and a finality counter, which for limited probably doesn't matter too much.
It's got a bunch of things changed around about it. This card's a little cheaper up front, a little expensive later. It has a finality counter. It's kind of that same card.
Lots of different knobs, but that card's good.
Yeah.
And this card is also good.
Hey, Burial Rites is actually like only okay in regular Innistrad draft, but has become sort of like a, like staple in sort of medium power cubes.
Yeah.
And this card, I think, is a little worse in that environment because it's, kind of expensive to flash back. But I think is good if this format does actually contain things worth reanimating, which is always the thing with like a Zombify or whatever. I'll pay 5 mana to bring something back, but do I really want to? Is there actually going to be something worth bringing back?
Yeah.
And I think the clever thing they did in this set is that the best thing to bring back, probably, at least sub-rare, is the other gold card. And that's a card called Shroud Stomper, which is 3 white, black, 7 mana for a 5/5. It's a creature elemental at uncommon. It has Death Touch, and then when it enters or attacks, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, and draw a card.
That's a lot.
This is a Titan. This is like a classic Titan. It's 7 mana instead of 6, but you get a ton of value with this card.
Yeah. This is a solid thing to reanimate.
This is like a really interesting design strategy to me. It's 3 white, white, black, black, so not very splashable at all. You could maybe be playing a third color in your deck, but you need a lot of white and black. And so it's only going to this one deck. And then the other gold card really desperately needs to guarantee that it'll see some cool things to reanimate. And this gold card is here. The 2 gold cards are here to make that happen. So they're both very wheelable. They're both, very late pickable.
Yeah, and they both have a lot of pips. So you're going to have to not do too much if you're already in those colors to get them to stay with you.
Sometimes with some kind of reanimator late gamey cards, a low number of pips means that the power level of the card can't be that high because any green deck could throw in, it could randomly become Abzan if the cards are powerful enough. And here we're saying you got to hew closer to a 2-color deck, which makes me optimistic that the power level can be high. And so for me, part of what I'm looking for is sometimes you want something that's just totally out there. Don't cast spells during your turn. Sometimes what I'm looking for excitement is I actually just want to see a thing that you don't usually get to do in retail draft, but that is fun to do. And an archetype is actually going to let me do that. I feel like I had that in Bloomburrow. There was the rabbit deck that had 1 million tokens. You don't usually actually get to have... What's that?
So many tokens, yeah.
Yeah. You usually don't actually get to make that many tokens in Limited. So when they said, hey, it's green-white tokens, that's conceptually a little bit snoozy, but I actually was really excited to do it because I don't get to do that very often to that degree, to actually have the 7 tokens on the battlefield. And so I'm very high excitement-wise on this for what is kind of a traditional archetype.
It's a traditional archetype, but not one we see often. And not one we see done well often, I think. Yeah. What was the last limited set that had white-black reanimator?
I feel like there's been 1 or 2 blue-black reanimators. I can remember seeing some gold cards for that, but I don't know if I can remember.
Yeah, Mom had blue-black, I think. But that was also had some weird... I think that was more of a mill deck than a reanimator deck.
Fair enough. Yeah, so it is a rare treat, assuming it works at all. But yeah,
it's a rare treat at uncommon. Actually, I think the last one was Modern Horizons 2. Because that's where we got our first 5-mana white reanimator at a low rarity.
Yeah, white actually being allowed to do the kind of 4-mana-ish, 5-mana-ish, common or uncommon, bring a creature back. They stayed away from that for a couple of years. They didn't want white to be able to do that, but now they're a little happier with it. So
yeah, and going outside of the purview of the Archons, there is both a white and black 5-mana reanimation spell on top of Rite of the Moth.
All right, so excitement wise, for me personally, it's a 5. How close? Where are you at in terms of excitement?
I think seeing these cards, it's probably a 4.
Okay. All right, accuracy. Do you think this is going to be possible? Now, kind of what I was saying, these 2 cards being paired together as the 2 gold cards makes me think they're trying to actually solve the problem. And you're kind of saying, in this exercise, we're not necessarily trying to grok the whole set and understand every card that's available. But you're kind of saying, hey, there's a white reanimator card, there's a black reanimator card. I'm hoping that when they design the set, if they're saying there's reanimator, there's going to be 2 or 3 other cards worth reanimating. There's land cyclers, other things that are kind of generically okay to reanimate.
Yeah, I'm sure your bombs are gonna be worth reanimating in this new play booster world.
Yeah. That's what old sets would rely on, that you just open 3 good rares or whatever that are big creatures.
Yeah.
We're hoping that they push that down a little bit and give you good cards that you can reliably get. Do we imagine that there's a white-black deck that doesn't care about reanimator? I guess black and white both care at least a little bit about Eerie, because there's the first 2 archetypes we talked about were black and white Eerie with blue.
I think there's a world where you can staple together the Eerie cards, and maybe pick up some other things that were intended for this archetype.
Yeah.
And have a deck that doesn't do Reanimator in white-black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 4-ish, or I think it's, yeah.
It's tough because I think it is accurate to say that if you want to do this, like if you're leaning into Reanimator, you're going to be able to do it. But you don't have to.
So 4-ish is probably where I'm at, maybe 3.
I think 4 is pretty reasonable.
All right, Synergy. Now, Synergy is where I think this has to rate high, because you have to have things that like give you ways to discard your cards or get them in the graveyard. Maybe I can use some Manifest Dread to get things in the graveyard, but I kind of need like either looting or some other random things to like let me get the fatties out of my hand, or a couple of them, so I could reanimate them. I need Reanimator cards. I need big things worth reanimating. So this is like a synergy dependent thing to me.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about having redundancy for things I want to reanimate and things that can get me those cards reanimated. But yeah, finding ways to put things in the yard, especially, in the first 3 turns. If you're playing Rite of the Moth on turn 4.
Yeah, because that's the dream. All right, so Synergy 4 or 5 because of that?
Yeah. Well,
what are you thinking?
My main worry is in Synergy, are other decks taking those kind of card advantage cards?
Yeah. Are other decks taking the Reanimator cards? Probably not. No. Are other decks taking the big creatures? Maybe.
Maybe the blue-black takes some of the big black cards, control finishers.
Yeah, the kind of land cyclers are traditionally like a pretty good fit for that kind of deck. So yeah.
Yeah. I see a 4.
Okay. And then raw strength. How good are these cards on their own? If you dropped Shroud Stomper into your average black-white deck from another set, is it going to be good enough?
If you're doing, a more aggro white-black strategy, I don't think Shroud Stomper makes it. I think it's too costly. Mm-hmm. Same with Rite of the Moth. If you only got white-black from Murders at Karlov Manor, you're playing all these 2-power creatures that cost 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Rite of the Moth is not what you want in that deck.
No. Yeah, so raw power is a little bit low. The Shroud Stomper is so good that I
think they're good cards though. Yeah.
Yeah. The Rite of the Moth I could get down to a reasonably low number. Maybe not a 1, though kind of like I think 2 I would be pretty happy with the raw power.
I think I can see this deck, these 2 cards together being at 2 or 3.
So that's about where I am as well. There's a lot of white-black decks that I would cut Shroud Stomper from. There are a bunch that would be absolutely happy to have it. So
yeah.
Alrighty, but we want to get through these, so let's just be happy with that too.
All right, blue and red. Rooms.
Yeah.
The house never ends. Trap your opponents going in circles as you unlock rooms to build up control of more and more territory. Then unleash the ghosts held within for a frightening finish.
Fair enough. When I first read about this, I think I said earlier, like, I was really not excited about rooms. I thought they were too clunky or whatever. But my first deck was a rooms deck, and like, once you see 3 of them on the battlefield, you're like, oh wait, these are legit.
I'm not sure I understand what this is supposed to do based on reading this. Like, if I was a relatively new player and I opened a booster box with my friends and I see this description, I'm like,
this is the topper.
What?
That's funny.
What am I doing? Or is it like a spirit
Trap your opponents going in circles as you unlock rooms. Yeah. Unleash ghosts. That might be a fib.
Spirit tribal control?
Yeah. Huh? That's a great point. Let's keep that in mind, because I think that might bump into our accuracy a little bit too. Our first card here is called Intruding Soul Rager. Another 2 mana. 2 mana 2/2 for a creature spirit. Okay, well there's 1 ghost. It has vigilance. Right. 2 mana 2/2 vigilance. And then tap, sacrifice a room. Intruding Soul Rager deals 2 damage to each opponent. Draw a card.
Very niche.
Yeah.
2 mana 2/2 with Vigilance and a tap ability.
Yeah.
So I'm attacking with this and then using its ability is what I want to be doing.
2/2 is probably the worst stat line for Vigilance. You're never beating anyone in combat, but you're big enough that you can't just get thrown away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're tying with Manifest Dreads. You're beating the 1/1 tokens. I don't think we've seen anything larger than a 1/1 token. Maybe you're putting some buffs on this.
Okay.
To help it.
If this were blue-white, I would believe that, I think, because then I get some counters and stuff.
Maybe you picked up a combat trick. Maybe you're tapping down your opponent's stuff just to get in, chip damage.
Yeah, part of what you want with that Vigilance thing is like the tap ability to matter on the battlefield. I'm going to attack with this and then tap it. And then if it trades in combat, I'm cool. If it lives through combat, I'm cool. But my tap ability is good here in combination with attacking, and that's not true here.
I mean, it replaces itself.
Yeah, the tap ability maybe is good. So tap, sack a room. So, hey, I've already expended a room. Let me sack it. Deal 2 to each opponent, draw a card. So I get to, like, throw away rooms and get new rooms. Maybe. So that feels like if rooms are good, if I can actually have, what do you think, 7, 8, 9 rooms in the deck, that ability seems relevant.
Can you get to that many?
That's a great question.
That's my question.
Yeah. Well, why don't you read us our other card?
Our other card is a room, the one we were talking about a little bit earlier. The first half is, I'm turning my head here, Smoky Lounge, 2 and a red. At the beginning of your first main phase, add red. Spend this mana only to cast room spells and unlock doors.
Wow. And
the second half is Misty Salon, 3 and a blue. When you unlock this door, create an XX spirit creature token with flying, where X is the number of unlocked doors among rooms you control. And because it's a room, you can cast either half of this first, and then unlock the other half later for its mana cost. I don't see a time when other than for mana reasons, that I wouldn't be playing Smoky Lounge first here, though.
Yeah, some weird top deck situation,
Yeah. You want to have a lot of unlocked doors already, and playing Smoky Lounge both gets you a discount on unlocking Misty Salon and gives you another door that's already unlocked.
Both of these cards are, well, at least the second card for sure, but the first card is saying, we do expect you to have 8 rooms in your deck, because the Smoky Lounge doesn't function in a 4-room deck.
No. Neither does Intruding Soul Rager.
And I have to sacrifice, this is where like the concept between like a Smoky Lounge and a Misty Salon are separate rooms conceptually, but are 1-room card. So even though Misty Salon is a temporary effect, I have to sacrifice both of them sort of to quote unquote sacrifice a room. All right, so Excitement. This was one maybe kind of like your green-white example where ahead of playing with any of the cards, this would have been a firm 1 for me. This was like absolute bottom. But my first draft deck was a room deck, and I did have 6 different room cards on the battlefield. So,
I mean, I see Misty Salon, and I see the ability to pay 4 mana for like an 8/8, and that kind of excites me. But my head is tired from turning sideways.
Yeah, I think, okay, so excitement-wise, this is probably like in the neighborhood of a 2 for me. I could go down to 1. If we're talking like before I saw a single card in play, this was easily a 1.
Yeah.
What do you think? 1, 2? What are you thinking?
I think we put this on the same way we did with green-white and put it at a 2.
Okay. All right, and then accuracy. If you're playing blue-red, are you playing rooms?
Yes. I can't see either of these cards in a deck with less than 7 rooms or something like that. Some insane number of these.
So a little bit like the Reanimator thing, we're saying, if they're printing these cards, they better mean it.
Yeah.
The text of the Soul Rager does not make sense if we're not in a world where there are enough rooms. So do we think that's actually going to be possible? This is another thing where I'm cursed by knowledge. I know that I have actually drafted the room deck a couple times.
I haven't played the room deck. In my experience, I haven't played the room deck. And in my pre-release, jumpstart, and one draft of this format, I've never seen more than one room on each side of the field at any time.
Oh, okay. So maybe I was the unicorn. And part of what we're also, and kind of like excitement, part of what we're trying to do with this accuracy, we're not running the numbers. We're not trying to say, is it actually, mathematically proven that like the average deck will have 7 rooms if they're blue-red? We're not trying to do that. We're trying to emulate someone checking out a set for the first time or the second time and think like, okay, how believable is it that I will get enough room cards in my room deck? And I think that that's going to be pretty low. I'm going to be pretty skeptical. Sounds like you're skeptical.
If I were going to a pre-release, first time you see the set is usually the pre-release, at least for me.
Yeah.
I would put this at a 1.
Yeah. We are trying to, these are draft archetypes. So if it's a pre-release, let's pretend it has draft, but it is, you're seeing the set for the first time. So accuracy, we're low believers. Is 2 the right number? Do you want a different number?
I really want to put this at a 1.
Okay, let's do it. All right, synergy. Does this make other cards better? Do you need specific cards in your deck to make this work? That's actually pretty high. And that's one of the things about this. Like it's the Soul Rager is an unexciting card because we're skeptical. But if you do actually have 9 rooms in your deck, getting to cash them in for new cards is kind of nice.
If all of my non-creature cards are rooms, I'm very happy.
I did take a screenshot day one of room. Arena breaks down your card type like, oh, you have 4 warriors. I did have room 9. So
okay.
My first lived experience was 9 rooms, and it was amazing.
Rooms are already 1.5 cards each.
Yeah.
In terms of card advantage.
Yeah.
This gets you up to 2.5 cards per room.
Yeah.
That synergy is good.
I'm struggling with how much to bring my own experience into it, but in that blue-red rooms deck, I think I might not have played either of these cards if they were in my pool. Like, they're kind of just like soft cards that are really dedicated to a theme.
Yeah.
My room cards are great because I get 2 cards out of 1 card. I don't need a thing to make 2 cards out of 1 card better. I'm already getting 2 cards out of 1. So synergy, I think this is like a really synergy-dependent thing. Is this archetype in general, outside of these 2 gold cards? Do we think, rooms beget more rooms? Are you going to take rooms if you're not the Izzet deck?
I think you're going to take rooms based on the archetypes we've seen.
Yeah.
Right? You've got 2 Eerie archetypes.
Sacrifice, yep.
And those are blue, and red. Yeah. You're gonna fight for them.
So these 2 particular cards like really care about synergy. But a lot of the cards that you want for the deck are cards that anybody wants. Everyone wants most of the rooms.
Yeah.
And what's the other half? What am I combining? Rooms plus rooms?
Control?
There's rooms plus a blocker, some attackers to put pressure on. These cards are really loud and wanting rooms, but outside of these 2 cards, what is the deck? What is the deck composition? The deck composition is just anything.
Yeah. This feels like the opposite of what happens with Simic archetypes.
Say more.
You see the Simic ramp good stuff archetypes, right? It's like, oh yeah, this is just some good cards that do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. They're either real big or they draw you some cards.
Yeah.
This feels like here's some cards that really want to do a thing, but they don't do what you really need to do in a game of Magic. They just do the thing, ignoring how useful it is.
Yeah. So synergy, I think, can't be like a 1 or a 2 because these cards are just like these 2 cards on their own are just so caring about synergy. Yeah. The overall archetype, that was just part of what we're trying to capture. We're imagining what the archetype will be. There isn't really like, if I have like 2 good rooms, And I'm looking at, I picked 2 good rooms as my first 2 picks. And then I'm looking at pack 3 or looking at pack 4. What are the cards that I combine with that? Just good cards, like whatever cards I can find. Like
yeah. If I already have 2 good rooms, I don't want to ditch them.
Yeah. So just give me the good cards. I just want to stay open and make sure I play my good cards.
Yeah.
So synergy 2 or 3 for me. What do you think?
I think it's a 3. I think 3 makes sense.
Yeah. And then raw strength. Raw strength is 1 or 2 for me. It's a 2-mana 2/2. The other card's blank. That's maybe a 1.
2-mana 2/2 with vigilance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one's blank in any other format.
If it were some other keyword, if it was flying, if it was first strike, if it,
Haste.
Yeah, sure. Those would matter a little bit more, but vigilance, as much as we love vigilance on this podcast, is not well placed on a 2/2. And a 2/2 that you want to keep for the entire game because you want to cycle through all your rooms. Let's say 1.
Yeah.
All right. We got third to last here. We got Golgari. That's going to be Delirium Grind. Prioritize getting a wide variety of card types, then gum up the board as you fill your graveyard with them. Once you've got at least 4, grind your opponent to dust by recycling what you've thrown away. It's Golgari graveyard, but hey, use a bunch of card types. Which, sure, okay.
Our first card here brings back good memories. Once again, calling back to Innistrad, we have Brood Spinner. Black-green, another 2-mana card, for a creature spider. It's an uncommon. It has reach, and when Brood Spinner enters, surveil 2. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, and put any of them into your graveyard, and the rest on top of your library in any order. And 4 black-green, and tap and sacrifice Brood Spinner. Create a number of 1/1 black and green insect creature tokens with flying equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard. And it is a 2/3. Big callback to me for spider spawning.
Yeah.
But on a spider.
Instead of getting spiders, I get little flyers instead of 1/2s, which are pretty comparable. A 1/2 reach and a 1/1 flyer. I guess 1/1 flyer attacks a little better, but both quite good. But the base rate on here is the kind of the story, right? This is another 2-mana card, but it's a 2/3 and it has reach, which is really relevant. And it enters and you surveil 2. So you get a lot before you even get to the synergy part. You get a lot of stuff.
This definitely gets you to that turn 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I've got the land, creature, instant, sorcery, everything in the yard already.
Yeah. And this is kind of interesting because it's not just delirium, it sort of scales up to 5 or 6 if you can, do both spell types and creature and artifact and enchantment and land. Get Kaito in your graveyard and get to 7.
Get that one planeswalker in the set.
Yeah, maybe not that.
And the zero battles.
All right, another card here. This is kind of the similar pattern to the other delirium thing, because we got like a creature that gets like quite good once you hit delirium. And then also a removal spell. And the removal spell for Golgari is called Drag to the Roots, black-green, for an instant. And as delirium, it costs 2 less if you have delirium. So it's 2 mana instead of 4 mana. And then destroy target non-land permanent.
That's it.
Yep. Feels useful.
Yeah. 2 mana, destroy anything at instant speed.
Yeah. I'll want the option switching between like destroying creatures and destroying enchantments, because there might be, evil rooms out there. And maybe there's other random things that I want to destroy. But like this lets me hit both those types pretty easily.
You'll come into that one deck with Kaito or a couple of artifacts here or there.
Yeah. And I would say that this discount is not normally that big a deal. Like 4 mana to murder, murder is 3 mana. 4 mana, I get to destroy any type. Okay, sign me up. I'll put that in a deck. I think maybe where this discount is at its best is in a deck that is trying to hit delirium, because not just because of the mechanics of the card, but because With Delirium, you're losing, turn the corner, winning. That's what you're trying to do with Delirium. And what's a great way to turn a corner? Have cards that are discounted so that I can double spell. My first couple turns, 4 or 5, turn 3, 4, 5, I'm behind. But then I get to land a pretty big creature and kill their best thing way back in the game.
I could see, these putting these two cards together. Turn 7, you already have regular Delirium, but you don't have an instant in your yard yet. You get to drag to the roots for 2 mana, and then you get to Brood Spinner and get, 4 insects, 5 insects.
Yeah.
6 insects. Probably 5.
Yeah, it has like kind of a medium late curve that works really well too. All right, so excitement. I think this is probably the hardest one for me because one of the things that was kind of exciting about the Gruul Delirium is that it's kind of a challenge to do more aggressive Delirium. That's like a hard thing to do. It's not really hard to do slow Delirium. That's just playing Magic the Gathering.
I think the excitement for this comes to me because of nostalgia for spider spawning.
Okay.
But there's no flashback on Brood Spinner. I think I'm going to go with 2.
Okay. Accuracy, are you going to be doing this? If you are blue-black or green-black, I don't think we need to talk about this. This is exactly what you're going to be doing if you're playing this color pair.
I don't think you even have to try.
Yeah. Synergy, does this make cards? Yeah. We were kind of blowing through that because that's just like the 5ES5.
Yeah.
Synergy, are you putting new kinds of cards in your deck to make this work? Are you playing cards that other people don't want to play? This is a little low to me. I'm a little skeptical if this is... Maybe because it's slow, I feel like I'm going to hit it. But, maybe I play 1 extra artifact creature. Maybe I play a sorcery that I wouldn't play otherwise. But not a high synergy grade to me.
Yeah, I might play... this might... you get... Same with the other Delirium one, Maybe you pick the sack land over the tap land. Maybe you... maybe you're picking... like that colorless artifact creature that costs 3 mana over something that's doing the same thing but slightly better in your color.
Yeah.
But it's not super strong synergy.
Yeah. The synergy is, let's see. I guess there's maybe some self-mill cards that turn on for me.
Manifest Dread, Surveil, but you're kind of already doing it. Like, Brood Spinner does it for you. And maybe you pick some other cards that say Surveil, but I don't think you need to try too hard.
Yeah. And trying extra hard doesn't really get me that far ahead. This Drag to the Roots, hey, it becomes a better card, but not an insane card. And this Brood Spinner, I have to wait until I got 6 mana anyhow to use it.
Yeah.
Like if I try extra hard, I don't really explode that hard. So this to me is a 2, but I could go higher if you'd prefer.
2 makes sense for me.
All right. And then raw strength, these are both pretty high on raw strength. Probably starts around 4 for me.
Yeah, I don't think these are a 5, just because for you've got to play the 2 colors. You've got to maybe pick some cards that you know.
Well, throw this in an average set. Would you be able to build around Brood Spinner in an average set? I think maybe yeah. I think you have a chance of combining your instants and sorceries and getting a couple of those things online. Like even in just your average normal set, I think you have a chance of making Delirium happen at a reasonable pace.
I think nowadays, maybe. I don't think you would in 2010, 2012.
Yeah.
I think you'd have trouble getting enough enchantment.
And 14, yeah. The enchantments they were printing back then were bad. So yeah, maybe that's true then. If we're going to have a 5, I feel like this is the 5 in raw strength. This is the strongest pair of cards on raw power.
Okay. In the modern world where we're about to have enchantments get their Nyx frame permanently.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe going forward we'll see this be a 5.
I think the other thing that's kind of interesting about this is like, even if you were in an environment where there weren't many artifacts or enchantments, both these cards still function. This Brood Spinner is still very good, Surveil, Reach, whatever. And you can still use this ability to get 3/1/1 flyers, which is still good. You don't need delirium.
That's true.
And then a kill spell's a kill spell.
And a kill spell's... Yeah. You'll play a 4-mana kill spell if you need a kill spell.
Yeah. We got 2 left.
Woo!
All right. That energy, we need it.
Alrighty. Red, white, aggro. Fill your deck with toys, clowns, and other creatures that have 2 or less power and start attacking. Smash your opponents by swiftly clearing out their blockers and buffing your little creatures.
All right. Fill your deck with toys, clowns, and other creature. I was like riding really high off the first half of that. Toys, clowns, yes. What else?
Yay!
Other creatures that have 2 or less power. That's a little gamey, little game designy.
I mean, they could have said something about Manifest Dread, maybe.
Yeah.
That's 2 power.
Yeah.
You know, similar to we were talking about it in the white black archetype, how Karlov Manor had that 2 power less thing for disguise.
Yeah. All right, so our first card here is Arabella, Abandoned Doll. We got our creepy doll character. Another 2-mana creature. The creatures are killing me. All these 2-mana creatures. This is maybe just a thing to keep in mind. Start with a 2-mana gold card in your set and find a reason for it not to be 2 mana.
Yeah.
Anyhow, red and white for a 1/3. It's unusual. For a legendary artifact creature toy, whenever Arabella Abandoned Doll attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. All right, so when this attacks, it doesn't get extra power, so it's not great in combat itself. But it's going to drain your opponent for 1 to 4 life, maybe? Something in that range?
That sounds about right. We had a midweek magic this week.
Oh.
Where it was build a brawl deck around commanders from Duskmourn.
Yeah.
And so this was the one I built.
Okay.
And it was getting up to like 6 or 7 with wall tokens, things like that.
All right.
Little 1/1 tokens, 0/1 tokens, 0/4 things. It's possible. I don't know how possible it is in this set.
Yeah. I guess the excitement level's got to be at least decent if you're building a brawl deck. But let's get the other card and dive in.
Yeah, our other card is More Alliteration, Midnight Mayhem. 2 red-white for a sorcery at uncommon. Create 3 1/1 red gremlin creature tokens. Gremlins you control gain Menace, Lifelink, and Haste until end of turn. Arabella turn 2. Attack with Arabella turn 3, maybe. Turn 4, you get in with Arabella and 3 gremlins and hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Very nice.
And all of the ones that they don't kill, come back for another round next turn, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
4 mana, get 3 1/1s is like close to a thing. Kind of want that to be 3 mana, but 4 mana is maybe doable. But getting haste on there is nice. Getting menace on there means you probably keep them. And then lifelink means, you could feel safe tapping out.
You probably don't keep all of them. You probably keep, 1 or 2 of them, though, depending on if you're attacking with anything else.
And if we're thinking like you have Arabella or you have some survival creature or something else attacking along with the gremlins, in order to block a gremlin, they kind of have to have 3 creatures because they need to block your regular guy. And they need 2 additional creatures to block a single 1/1.
Yeah. They're probably just letting them through.
Yeah.
Unless they have, their own, I don't know, maybe Manifest Dreads that they don't want to risk.
Yeah.
They
don't keep the keywords, so they only get the Menace, Lifelink, Haste the first turn, but if you're doing it multiple turns in a row, you're fine with just vanilla 1/1s.
I don't think we're running into that many other gremlins. I don't think there's going to be any gremlin non-tokens, right? I think we're just going to see... This is only going to buff your tokens.
Yeah. We saw the one other, like the Gremlin buddy, the
Yeah,
Azorius card,
the Gremlin Tamer.
Yeah. Just in terms of like constructing a set, we got so many other card types. There's so much flavor going on that we're not going to get. They're not going to have to do like, hey, we have 11 Gremlin cards in this set. That doesn't feel like what we're going to see. All right, but let's work through excitement. You wanted to do this Arabelle thing. Tell me about it.
I mean, I'm very excited by the toy type.
Okay.
Just as a person,
you want? Is it evil toys? Is it like what's the optimal toy to you?
Soft, cuddly things, you know.
Oh, okay.
And you get a little bit of it with Arabella.
Mm-hmm.
There was a good little short story about how Arabella came. You know, we're getting into some Vorthos stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy this type, so that's some excitement to me. Power 2 or less is a good way to describe the little guy, the little
yeah.
You know, your toys, your gremlins, your thing. So I think it works.
Power 2 or less is not that exciting to me, but maybe saying like there's a whole bunch of cute or cool or scary little guys that are all teaming up to murder. That seems like a fun flavor thing to do in Duskmourn. It also mentions clowns, so like little murder clowns.
Murder clowns, your glimmer tokens.
Okay, yeah. I think where it's like I could believe maybe that there's going to be a lot of little guys. Is it super exciting to me? Not super exciting. The archetype's called aggro, which I feel like caps the excitement level when that's all they muster in terms of describing the archetype. I'm feeling 2 or 3. Do you want it to be higher?
I can be satisfied with a 3.
All right. Accuracy. Do we think we're going to be doing this in red white? This feels like another 4 or 5. What do you think?
I think very similar to Golgari Delirium, Golgari Graveyard. Like, you're in red white. You're doing aggro.
Yeah.
These are the tools to do some aggro. Maybe it's a bit slower because there's a lot of lifelink kicking around here. But maybe it's just because you're leaving yourself open.
Yeah, a little bit of lifelink is nice in those aggro decks because you need to keep swinging out over and over, and then your opponent starts playing 4/4s. You're like, maybe I can't swing. So 5 feels pretty good. You talked about Manifest Dread. That's making it extra believable that there's, Glimmer tokens. There's going to be plenty of small creatures. Synergy, does this make different kinds of cards better?
If there's enough cards that I'd rather pick because they're power 2 or less, even if they're like maybe a 3 mana with a weird, good ability over 3 mana that's a 5/2 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I pick those a bit higher.
I guess like if it's like a good 3/2 versus a not good 2/2, I'm not swayed at all.
Like you're still gonna try and pick the card that's good, but maybe you're picking the card that gives temporary evasion or draws you a card rather than the one that is just stats wise bigger.
Yeah, so maybe you're talking me off of a 1, but it's going to be hard to even get me to a 3. I feel like 2 is the highest. I'm like excited to go on this.
Yeah,
because like what are the cards that are good in my red white aggro deck? The ones that are already 1 or 2 power anyhow because they're 1 or 2 mana. Like it's already cards that I was going to play in this deck regardless.
Yeah, I don't think you're doing anything weird.
Is 2 enough of a victory for you?
Yeah, 2 seems like a victory for me. I don't think I'm betting you higher.
Raw strength. I feel like this Gremlin card and Arabella seems all right. It starts this as a 3, and I could maybe go up a little bit.
A 3 seems would be a stretch. Reasonable.
4 I could believe. The closing power of I get to. Arabella's gonna die in combat, but I get to attack for a drain of 4 with some other creatures. Like,
yeah, in formats with lots of aggro, something like Arabella might not be fast enough compared to other things. Like she doesn't have haste, right?
Yeah. That's part of what makes me think that it must be sneaky great, because this feels like the most automatic haste card of all time, but they
Yeah.
declined to put haste on
Like,
it.
she doesn't have haste. She's also legendary, which you're not running multiples of her. So
that would be kind of gross. This feels like in EDH, this is not related to what we're doing on this episode, but like each opponent, this just makes me want to like either make 20 tokens at the same time or bring back all small creatures out of my graveyard at the same time. Feels like this does actually get explosive in EDH for being so humble otherwise.
This probably goes in my Queen Caleb and Crew deck, which...
Oh, yeah.
But you said each opponent, and my brain actually skipped to battle two-headed giant.
Oh, yeah.
Limited. I was like, oh, I might be playing aggro if I ever do two-headed giant for this set.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm feeling good about 4.
Oh, I was gonna say 3.
You'd rather have 3? All right, let's do it.
Yeah. I don't think these cards are strong enough without some amount of set support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I probably would say I feel like even without a lot of set support, I feel okay with these cards. All right, so our last one, the classic Simic. Green-blue.
Simic.
We've got Manifest Dread. All right, it's always good when it's not ramp and draw, so we're at least past the bottom. Something's lurking in the shadows. Manifest face-down creatures and get them into combat. Then surprise your opponent with their true forms to outsize the competition.
Is this just rampant disguise?
Well, there's no mention of lands. We're gonna get creatures down early, which is good because I won't die. And somehow they're gonna be big creatures. Maybe kind of like the reanimator thing. What are there tools for me to get big creatures into the manifest pile?
Well, not really. I mean, like, if you're getting big creatures, you're gonna have to pay for them to turn them face up, right?
Yeah, you're not getting that far ahead. Okay, fair enough.
So, you're gonna have to do the Simic ramp thing to get the big creatures to be big anyway.
All right. Well, give us our first card so we can start to get an idea of how they want us to do this.
All right, our first card is Growing Dread. Green-blue. Another 2-mana card for an enchantment with flash. When Growing Dread enters, manifests Dread. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, and the other into your graveyard. Turn it face up at any time for its mana cost, if it's a creature card. Whenever you turn a permanent face up, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so this is a 2-mana flash 2/2.
Yeah.
That has Megamorph.
Yeah. Very funny.
That's saying you don't ever manifest Dread again.
Yeah. Yeah, so this manifest Dread, so it this enchantment just kind of sticks around doing a minor thing, but it's also giving you a creature. If that creature, what's the chance that's actually a creature? 50%, maybe a little bit less.
I think, seeing as this deck is built around Manifest Dread, I don't think you're going to want to play a lot of non-creatures.
So if I have 16 creatures, that's a little less than half my deck, but I get to look at 2 cards, so it's a little more than 50%.
Yeah.
And it makes it worth turning mediocre cards face up because I get an extra counter. So if I see a 3/2 under that Manifest Dread, and it's 3 mana, it's like, I'm not going to pay for that. Oh, I get an extra counter. I guess I'll pay for it.
If you see anything other than a 1/1, you might actually.
Yeah. If I see a huge creature on there, I wanted to flip it anyhow, so this enchantment didn't really incentivize me. Yeah, I don't know.
You're hitting those 2/2s, those cards that are about the same value turned face up as a Manifest Dread.
Yeah.
Maybe you do it if you have the spare mana. Like, if you're flashing this in, right, and end of turn 2, maybe you flash it in and then turn it face up the next turn if it's a good creature that you want to attack with.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I kind of want other ways to spend my mana at instant speed, like I guess the control deck thing is like I either want to cast a removal spell or a draw spell. with this Growing Dread, I'm either going to flash in Growing Dread or I'm going to do something else. Flip up a creature on blocks. Okay. All right, and our other card here is Oblivious Bookworm. Green and blue for a 2/3, so we got 2 mana 2/3. Creature, human, wizard. Wearing headphones. At the beginning of your end step, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card unless a permanent entered the battlefield face down under your control this turn, or you turn a permanent face up this turn. This is saying do manifest stuff on your turn. And if you do, instead of looting, which is already kind of okay, you instead get to just draw extra cards.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Manifest Dread already is somewhat a form of virtual card advantage. This gets you more of that. And I mean, drawing a card's better than Surveil, but I don't know why I want this to say, like, Surveil 2.
Yeah. So maybe we're caring just as much about just doing this dread thing as we are what the summary says, which is to do combat-y stuff. Feels like these things, like there's some combat involved, but it's also just kind of every time I manifest dread, I get a thing. And I actually, this bookworm's kind of interesting because it's a little bit like Eerie. Eerie cares about enchantments entering or rooms being fully unlocked. This cares about dreads entering or dreads being turned face up. So you kind of, in some cases, you can get 2 out of 1. You can get 2 bookworm triggers out of 1 manifest dread effect.
Yeah. Two on different turns because you can't have them the same turn.
Yeah.
I feel like this one feels at odds to Growing Dread. Like Growing Dread has this whole flash component.
Yeah, and Bookworm is the opposite.
And Bookworm is like, no, do it on your turn.
Excitement? How excited am I to make Manifest Dread the deck? Even after playing it, but before, I'm a little skeptical that I'm going to hit enough creatures to flip.
It depends how many creatures let you manifest dread.
Yeah.
Your excitement for this is completely dependent on how much you like bluffing. How much do you want to play that very blue strategy of pretending you have something when you don't?
I don't know. It's kind of funny because these cards are like, get a little bit engine-y, just find things that say manifest dread and not much else. And you kind of need creatures that manifest dread because you need to keep your creature count in the 14, 15, 16 level if you can.
Yeah. I'm not excited to do this deck. I think it's a 2.
Yeah, this isn't a 1 for me. I do want to, like, when you say, hey, if you do a thing, draw an extra card every turn.
Yeah.
You're getting above 1 for me because I want to draw an extra card every turn. I could probably get up to 3, but if we want to do 2, I can believe 2.
Yeah, it's very much, I want to do this, but I don't want to commit.
You know what? I'm going to do you a favor. We're going to commit to 3.
All right.
Accuracy. Is it going to be possible to do this? Will there be enough Manifest Dread? Will I have enough creatures in my deck? If I have 8 ways to Manifest Dread, I'm going to draw 3 of them. I'm going to get 3 extra cards out of this bookworm. That math is totally acceptable.
That makes sense.
I think it's not that explosive to Manifest Dread big creatures. Like you can eat creatures, which is nice, but you're not like getting way ahead. You're not, because you have to pay, the land cyclers, 6 mana.
Yeah.
Pay 2 mana, discard, go get a basic land, or they're a 5/7 or a 4/5 flyer, or some other kind of good big creature. Even if you manifest those, you have to wait until turn 7 in order to flip them.
There's 2 parts of Manifest Dread, right? Yeah. There's the 2/2 face down creature, but also you're putting things into your graveyard. How much do we think that matters? Because these 2 cards don't care about it, but the other 2 green archetypes are Delirium.
Yeah. So I guess we can believe that there are going to be green cards out there. Like we were talking a lot earlier. Hey, there's a lot of blue rooms. Therefore, anytime we're seeing blue and rooms together, we're believing. Here, we're saying like, hey, anytime there's green involved, it's pretty likely the graveyard's going to be involved. So we're able to pick up a couple, things that care about the cast off from Manifest Dread, the graveyard card. Yeah.
So
so I'm a little grindy.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of tutus, so I'm not going to get run over early, which is my number one concern as a Simic player.
Yeah. 3?
Yeah, 3. Let's do 3. All right, synergy. Does this make other cards better? Are these cards trash until you play the right cards? Blah, blah, blah. These are kind of mediocre until you play other cards.
Yeah. These all want more things that Manifest Dread.
Yeah.
And, I think you're going to be okay on picking those up. Like, not too many other people are going to really be stealing them from you, it feels like. Aside from the ones that are already good.
Graveyard wise, the other green decks are kind of want to Manifest Dread a bunch, but they're not dying to do it.
Yeah. Maybe they're more interested in the non-creature ways to Manifest Dread. Because they want those card types to fill the yard. And so maybe the creature ones are yours and the non-creature ones are theirs.
Synergy. This does want a bunch of different things to mix together to become good, because it's not that good on its own. So 3 or 4.
4?
Yeah, I feel pretty good with 4. I feel like that you could get into a point where you have you could have a bunch of cards. You have other things that care about Manifest Dread, and you have other things that care about face down creatures. And then this becomes explosive. I'm drawing 2 cards a turn. That's drawing me into my other pieces. Now, every time I Manifest Dread, 3 things trigger.
Yeah, similar to how we had with Eerie in Azorius or Sacrifice in Rakdos, right?
Yeah. Once I start doing it, then it really becomes powerful.
Yeah.
Even with a deck that's kind of built to do it, I'm not sure you'll always get to do that every game. All right, so our last one here, we're going to talk about Raw Power. I think this Growing Dread card is 1 or 2, and this Bookworm, looting every turn. There's a lot of utility to looting every turn. And the looting, like...
A looting 2/3 that doesn't have to tap itself.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're not great outside of having the Manifest Dreads. Yeah. They're not abysmal. So 2?
Neither are abysmal, that's true. Yeah, maybe 2.
Yeah, like they're both playable.
Yeah. And kind of outside of the kayfabe of just not thinking too much about the other cards. My first jump in deck was this. And I engined turbo hard with the Civic deck. And I had a million cards that cared about Manifest Dread, and it was ludicrous.
Oh, that's great.
So I got to live the dream, not in draft. So I don't want to say it's good in draft, but in Jumpstart and Jump In, it was choice. It was premium. Sometimes you get the Jump In deck where you're like, I'm going to win my 5 games or whatever. I'm going to play this for a couple days, come back to it, complete a couple daily quests. And I kind of have to retire because I'm too sick of winning. I gotta challenge myself.
I'm gonna go stop doing my dailies here and start doing them in Brawl.
All right, so we kind of finished up here. We went through all these archetypes. Just a little, this is everyone's in a kind of in for the long haul with these episodes with us, and I hope people like it. I hope they're discovering some new things. Did anything kind of like change in your mind, like when we were starting to give these scores? Anything kind of shift around in how you evaluated things?
I think synergy actually became, I don't know, it kind of spread out into the other parts. Like, how much am I doing this? Definitely how many rooms we think we're gonna have, and I think I feel more confident about rooms after this. Except for in the rooms deck.
Yeah, that's one of the funny things rating wise, because I like I said, I drafted the rooms deck. I've played with rooms a lot now. I've played a lot of red, and the room cards are good, but there's not a lot of reason to be rooms as a synergy piece. You're just putting a bunch of cards that happen to be good together in the same deck, and they all happen to have the same card type. That was the thing that kind of surprised me about when we started to break down like accuracy and stuff like that.
Yeah, you see it, but you don't believe it until it happens.
Yeah, yeah. And what can you do? What could they have done with like the is it card to say like, hey, on your first try, believe this, Put your faith in us.
I think the fact for the Is It one that it's talking about getting rid of rooms
Yeah.
rather than
Okay.
getting rooms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There was in Carlo Manor, there was a white card that just said dig for some cases of any color and go
Yeah.
pick them up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can cast cases as if they were any color. Right? That something like that for rooms that made me just I want to play all the rooms. I don't care what color it is. I just want them.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have done more for saying I want rooms.
That made me think of something where like a lot of times you see cited from like Morrow or wherever else, like things that require you to sacrifice stuff are like negative for new players, like they don't ever want to do it. But then I say to myself, like, I don't mind sacrificing stuff. I've seen plenty of people sacrifice stuff all the time in EDH. Sacrificing is fine. I don't have to worry about sacrifice. Like, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that piece of advice. But we're actually living it out here where we're experienced players and we are also skeptical of being forced to sacrifice a thing. Now, the difference between like sacrificing a food and sacrificing a room is maybe where the line is. Like we're fully comfortable sacrificing a food. But yeah, maybe it's making it a little more clear that like on your advertisement card, your archetype defining card, maybe you have to be just like full enticement mode, full upside, full enjoyment.
Yeah, I mean, 2 mana and draw cards a lot, but I think I'd be happier with like, I don't know, fling.
Oh, fling a
something
room.
big and splashy. Yeah, let me fling a room and deal, I don't know, 10 to a creature.
Yeah. Collapse a room on a creature. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does sound a little more exciting. You're right. All right. So like what's your favorite of the archetypes? Just like give me raw, makes you the most happy, is the coolest. Kayfabe off, you can say whatever you want about it. And Duskmourn, what's your favorite?
I want to reanimate my bombs. Listen, I had a rough game against Valgavoth in pre-release.
Oh,
I want to do that. I want to reanimate Valgavoth. I want to be the cultist.
Draft the deck that beat you? Oh, the classic, yeah.
Yeah. I want to be the cultist and, summon a 9/9 flying lifelink ward, sacrifice 3 other creatures. Whatever.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I have done the room stuff a little bit, and I've done the Azorius, like Eerie Tempo stuff. I haven't actually gone for the black-green. I feel like that's actually going to be pretty playable. I haven't played it yet. I want to do the black-green, grind them out, classic style.
So my pre-release deck was black, green, white. It was mostly green. And I was really playing with that late game Delirium because I got 2 copies of the 4 mana card that reanimates itself for 4 mana if you have Delirium.
Yeah. 4/1.
And it's a 5/5 with trample.
Oh, just different.
Yeah. So it's like a 4 mana 5/5 with trample that can reanimate for itself for 4 mana if you have Delirium.
Oh, this is like a rare or something.
It's a rare. Yeah, I got 2 copies of the same rare.
I was thinking it's like a black one that is just a 4/1, but you got the upgrade. You got the cool.
Yeah, I got the upgraded one, and it's like,
yeah.
Just having a big enough creature does it, and it was a good time.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, there's still plenty of more Duskmourn to play. Hopefully, people have gotten some ideas for how to tweak some archetypes, how to design some gold cards. I feel like I'm still kind of weak at designing gold cards. I don't have a good. When I'm evaluating them, I'm kind of evaluating more as like EDH cards or constructed cards. I still don't totally know what makes a great unlimited gold card.
I've been doing a lot of work on that. The current set I'm working on is a gold set. Looking at all these actually gave me some good ideas, and talking about them. There's definitely some cards I've got kicking around in my file that I looked up during our break, and like, maybe I could tweak that to be a bit clearer.
Yeah. There are a couple cards that to me like felt a little bit just boilerplate, like the Beastie Beatdown, punch spell, but it has delirium on it. The shrewd storyteller, the 3/3 that like survival, hand out a counter. Those are not quite on that inspiring level of gold card, and gold cards are almost like mini legends, mini commanders. They gotta have a little bit of mechanical spice. They gotta be a little appealing. They gotta do something a little new, a little different.
Yeah.
And how you get past the just kind of like combine two colors together. How you get past that and into enticing. That's, I don't know, something to always get better at.
Leaning into the synergy part helped a lot. Like if we look at our like list, our synergies, you know, generally seem to line up with our excitement.
Mono Whiteboarder's been saying we got to get another like 4 episodes of this out so we can start do some hardcore do correlation analysis.
Yeah. But like, you know, when things let you know, when these are the commanders of limited is a good way to think about it. Like these are what you're building your deck around, right? These are your build arounds, your build arounds, your enablers, the things that you want in that deck.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so you gotta find a way to make it a little bit more appealing than the average card in that archetype. It's gotta have something novel about it. Yeah. Or maybe it's just power level. Maybe it's like, hey, take this, let the deck follow you. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's about it for our signposts. Before we get out of here, a couple things to plug. One of which is Moxtober. You've been doing Moxtober, right?
I've been doing Moxtober.
I think I read one of them earlier today. What was it was like an enchantment, right?
Oh yeah. My Moxtober card for today is wacky.
It is wacky. I'm rereading it now.
Yeah.
But that's what we're trying to do. Moxtober, every day you get a new prompt. Error was today's prompt. So error,
yep.
You know, what are you going to do with error? Everyone's doing something a little different. We just want to read a bunch of awesome Magic cards. This is a great channel to just sit in.
I was waiting for someone to make the I am error card. And it happened during the podcast. So
yeah, from the real Eli, who I think is maybe a new.
I think they're new
submitter.
Yeah, I think they came in at the start of Moxtober.
Love it. I am error. It's the Zelda 2.
The prompt when this episode comes out will be live on the 16th, I think.
Alrighty.
So, you know, maybe you can think about some things that are alive to work on.
Yeah. And if you need some other stuff to work on, we also have our monthly challenge. If you want to participate in the show, if you want to hear us read your cards or whatever, this is the way to do it. Because we always go through these and then every month we collect them and talk about them. Our October design challenge is called Going Ghost. Design a card that flickers itself or something else, but doesn't return the target on the same turn. So a lot of flicker or blink, like, you know, blink it out, bring it back, or bring it back at a turn. This has to come back later. We always do bonus points for these, and there are 2, you know, you can shoot for these if you want to, you don't have to. Halloween Spirit, it should be a spirit or care about spirits. And then the opposite of Halloween Spirit is Spirit Halloween, a famous kind of United States like costume store that springs up every Halloween season. Make your card a cheap knockoff of another card, up to interpretation. You know, if you're buying a Halloween costume, you're not necessarily buying that to keep, so you just want something cheap. You want to spend your $25 or whatever, get something funny. You know, can you convey that in a Magic card? Can you take an existing famous card, make the knockoff, give it some sort of flickery, exile-y stuff, and then send it to us so we can look at it?
Yeah. I just got a 20% off coupon for Spirit Halloween, so I can get an even cheaper knockoff.
My wife was telling me they're also going to do Spirit Christmas. They're going to just run it from, you know, September through mid-December now.
Maybe we'll have Spirit Christmas be the bonus for December.
I mean, this is due October 25th, so if you want to combine, you know, Christmas and Halloween, maybe this is the time to do it.
Who's the Santa Claus of Magic the Gathering?
There've been some like holiday cards, but there's nothing close.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
Is it a Johnny? See it being a Johnny.
Yeah, he could put on the red hat and have a big bag of presents. Hand them all out. Where's the sleigh come from? We need a sleigh. We need reindeer.
Oh, wait, no. It's Essica. Or is it Oko? With his elks.
All right. Essica has the cat chariot.
I think I know who's going to be my my card for this month.
All right.
It's going to be totally not Oko.
That's a great card to make a knockoff of. I'm really excited for that. So everybody get your cards into the Discord so we can talk about them on the pod. But that'll be it for our podcast for the week. The Discord's where the action is. You can also check the website. We've got some show notes on there, stuff like that. Thanks for coming on, Cord. It was great to have you on again.
Yeah, it's a good time. Get to chat about Magic.
Yeah, you fit right in. Anything you want to tell people about? Any stuff you've been into or stuff you want to plug?
I've probably got a piece of music coming out around the time this episode comes out.
Okay. You're doing like chiptune-y stuff, right?
I have.
Is that fair to say?
Put out a chiptune album the last time I was on this show.
Oh, okay.
A little bit after that.
You pivoted since then.
This is just a bit more vocal work.
Oh, okay.
But you can find me on all the places at Chord22.
Alrighty.
If you want to find the music, it's probably going to be on YouTube first.
Cool. If you need to find me, Discord's the place to do that. At Tim F. Riley there. And thanks everyone for listening.